Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Rags to Riches mini-series about the Paladin. In the first episode, we covered leveling from level 1 to level 80. In addition, we also covered doing your own Ubers and your own dclone. We did lose to dclone, the rematch is coming in this episode. And we decided to go with Charge Paladin for normal. That was kind of what we were recommended. And then we transitioned into Holy Bolt and Nightmare and coasted all the way till the end of Hell. It was a very smooth experience. For people who want to stop and farm with Holy Bolt, it's a great exercise. You can go do it in Chaos Sanctuary. On the way, you can farm some pests for yourself. So it's a very nice area that it farms very efficiently. And after that, like, you can go do your own Ubers, do your own dclone to save some currency. So really nice build, really effective. Also has that salvation aura that really saves you early on in the game before you have all your resistances sorted out. So really nice build. We had a pretty nice time with it. In today's episode, after doing our own dclone on Holy Bolt, we're going to transition into early mapping, and we're going to test 7 different builds with the Paladin. So the builds we're going to test will be, or like the builds that I've already tested, I guess, will be Holy Bolt and Fist of Heaven mapping. We're going to test Physical Sacrifice, Physical Charge, Zeal. So these are 3 physical builds. We're also going to test some other builds like Vengeance, Elemental Sacrifice, and Blessed Hammer. With that said, let me pull the video and let's see how we did on our day number 2. So we started, of course, with our Holy Bolt dclone attempt with our Hand of Blessed Light, nice circlet, which is mostly used to give us some FCR. You can just use a rare circlet if you got one with Paladin skills, that would be even better. But we used nice circlet because that's what we had. Griswold's armor that gave us 2 to skills. You can also use Spirit Shroud that gives 1 skills in CBF, so that can save you some half freeze duration or CBF items that way. Spirit Shroud is pretty easy to get. You can get Skin of Viper Magi. Enokozan Relic for some maximum fire resistances. Spirit Shield for the extra skill and some FCR. These half freeze boots with some poison res that we needed. Half freeze ring that we crafted just so we can have the half freeze. PDR belt that we found with a bit of resistances and some flat life. FCR ring, we use it mostly for the FCR, and Trang's gloves, which we're using again for the FCR. That's what we had. Generally, something that I missed on day 1 when I was giving leveling tips is that if you want to do all this with 1 spec, so after you spec into Nightmare for Holy Bolt, if you want to do all this in 1 spec and that is your plan, you should be putting, after 1 point in Salvation and maxing all of your synergies, you should probably be putting your points into Resist Fire. This is something that I missed in my playthrough. I kind of forgot about it, but it could give you 2 to 3 extra maximum fire resist, because every 2 points on resist fire gives you 1 more maximum fire. So in this situation, I actually did it, so we have a little bit more maximum fire res. I actually didn't find a small charm for fire to top it off, but I figured 85 maximum fire would be fine. So that is the main difference from my attempt on day 1 to my attempt on day 2. So I recommend you don't forget that. Yeah, I'm kind of showing the PDR, the things. We do have a torch, of course, because we did our own Ubers. And I think I realized that I'm using a charm that I don't need. And yeah, we go into the fight. So the fight goes on pretty much like the fight on day 1. You're running around, avoid the lightning hose. Nobody wants to tank the lightning hose, especially not early. And you're shooting pretty much from a distance. You don't want to be taking too much damage in these phases. I think we pretty much done the first phase with I just realized I had a small rejuve during the fight in slot number 2. The things I don't notice when I'm streaming. So you want to be doing this very safely. As you can see, I'm not using too many juves for that phase. That phase is pretty easy to kind of finish. And you'll need your juves mostly for the 2nd and 3rd skeleton phases. They can take a little while. Right, you can see that these like declone phases, as long as you avoid the lightning hose, you'll be fine. This phase where things start getting more hectic, you wouldn't be paying attention to the meteors, so you don't have a lot of PDR, and I wouldn't recommend losing like a scale armor or FCR armor for like PDR safety armor. Generally, I would recommend to just try and be careful of these meteors. Watch the ground. You can see I'm like trying to like path around them as much as I can, not to get hit. Yeah, you're trying to kill these like these skeletons like without letting them touch you too much. We didn't do the best job in phase number 2, but you know, we're doing our best. I think a little bit of practice on day 1 definitely helped us. Here we actually did get hit by a meteor, but we were fine, luckily. Yeah, we managed to send him to the middle, and we have enough juice. We're like pretty comfortable with this to finish our tier 0 attempt. But still, phase 3 to come. Gotta make sure we're dodging all these pesky meteors and spirit fires. Yeah, the thing I was mostly looking for is like whenever you see him standing there, like you know, like a big bozo, that's when you usually want to start attacking him. And phase 3 of the skeletons, you want to be kiting all these melee ones and try to position them like in front of one of these ranged ones. If you can hit all the like the melee skeletons while you're also targeting like the ranged ones, that's your best situation. Overall, this is not like the most difficult kill. It's just it requires patience and to make sure you're not rushing into a situation where meteors are gonna destroy you. Here I'm getting hit by a meteor. Hopefully that was a conscious choice that I made. Yeah, we managed to send it to the middle one more time. We have a lot of juice, so we're very comfortable. Yeah, we had like the spirit fire there that was we're standing on. And at this point, it's just all about patience. Like, you want to make sure you pick the right time to attack, avoid everything that you don't want hitting you. Try to hug the pillars if you can to get rid of the spirit fires. Yeah, as you can see, I'm trying to touch them on my way so I don't have to stand on them when I'm attacking. That's it. That was our tier 0 kill on the Holy Bolt. Pretty happy that we did it so comfortably. Yeah, after doing that, the first build we wanted to test is mapping with Holy Bolt, because that was the build that we leveled with, so I just wanted to see how well it keeps up, and I decided to test it with full nice set. The reason I didn't test Griswold set is because I didn't have the shield. We broke the shield. You guys can make jokes about my breaking items that I need for the videos, but it is part of testing stuff in SSF. So yeah, we just decided to do it with the nice set. That we have a pretty nice set. So as you can see, the gear is pretty simple. We took like a FCR gloves, FCR amulet with 2 skills, nice set. Again, gives a lot of FCR, very nice set, and FCR rings, PDR belt. Pretty simple stuff, things that you can find on the way. We crafted like magic find boots because we didn't really need the res at all. And you can see something very nice about farming with nice set on this is outside of it giving a ton of plus skills and you're doing like really nice damage, is the fact that you get teleport. It really shortens down the time of farming with this. We tried also like a different setup in terms of gear, just like trying like Hand of Blessed Light and like Ancient Pledge or a Spirit. So these kind of like shield and scepter kind of setups, they were fine. They were not that much slower. So if you don't have a nice set, that's fine. You don't have to buy it or anything. But nice set is a really nice investment in my opinion early on. Here you can see us doing it with the shield and Hand of Blessed Light. So both did okay. We managed to clear 8 to 10 minute maps already on day 1 for Caldeum, which I think is pretty solid. Like for day 1 approach, or day 2, sorry, approach. With like the full nice set, like we got pretty solid time. So I was pretty happy with how a Holy Bolt performed even after doing declone, even going into early maps. I think this is a really valuable build. I didn't actually hear a lot of people saying they're farming maps with it. Mostly people say they farm chaos, from what I understood. So I actually think this is a pretty solid build. I think it was one of the more you know, it was above average. If I think about like compared to other classes, it was doing above average job. So pretty happy with that overall. After that, we swapped to a Zealer, and we found a Head Striker and a Gillums like as we were playing. So I figured I'll just use very self-found type of gear. So I crafted PDR armor, laying of hands with some AR. We were shooting for about 10k AR. We had a little bit more than that. The PDR belt that we found, yeah, 10 PDR, tri-res, so pretty cute belt. Ravenfrost, pretty cheap Ravenfrost. Dual Leecher ring that does like relatively expensive, I guess. An Atma Scarab, Vol attributes, and a Gold Riders. As you can see, we had 85 deadly strike with this build, which is pretty funny. It's like really high deadly strike, really high crushing blow as well, because of the Gillums and the Gold Riders. So pretty nice stuff. We're using Fanaticism Aura to reach our maximum breakpoint. Max Zeal, max the synergies. 1 point in Holy Shield, and we dump our points into Blessed Aim to reduce target defense. And our Merc is, yeah, I'm showing the Merc after I open the map. So our Merc is running just like a bunch of PDR items that we found on the way. V-Gaze, Rock Fleece, Creanti, Vomir, and a little bit of IAS from Laying of Hands, and a Marowalks for CBF. The main reason we're running him is for the Might Aura. We just want him to stay alive, so I gave him a bunch of Leech and a bunch of PDR. That was just like what we were looking for. Everything else is just like to top off his resistances or get him like a better FHR breakpoint. And Zealer wasn't actually a build that was recommended initially. I was just recommended it on the day, so I was like, okay, let me try Zealer, see how it does. It's a build that I've considered for bossing, maybe. I didn't think anybody's mapping with it. And generally you map with it similar to how you map with Sacrifice. You're like jousting, you max your joust so you can have as fast movement as you can possibly have, which means that like if you upgrade it, you'll probably want to go with like an Alma Negra as well, just to like lower that cooldown as much as you can. And I think they said like the weapon of choice for this is Schaefer's. That's like your melee weapon of choice. So of course we can test that on day 3, but with the budget build, with the Head Striker, we managed to hit our max breakpoint, but the damage wasn't quite there. It was a little bit too slow. Like compared to like other builds, this was doing about as good as I'm trying to remember the name now, as the Kixin did, like slightly better than the Kixin on day number 2. So 14 to 16 minute maps. This is a little too slow in my opinion to get into mapping. Benefits of this build is that you can easily boss with this early on if you do get the setup and you want to get yourself like a bit of bossing going on. It will do pretty good in those scenarios for like Declone and Raphma. I assume Lucian too, but I didn't check it. But only for the lower tiers. Okay, so after doing that, we wanted to test Sacrifice as well. So you can see we're not changing anything here, and we're just keeping everything the same, but instead of having the Laying of Hands, we're running Drax for the life after each kill. That is like the main difference here. So yeah, that is kind of like what we went for. Generally speaking, this is something I didn't know, by the way. I found it out on the stream, thanks to Ivel for giving us the info. But apparently Deadly Strike doesn't work on Sacrifice, so we had a ton of Deadly Strike and it was kind of useless. So we tested different weapons after that for Sacrifice as well. But apparently it doesn't work. Like, I don't know why it doesn't work. I was told that it's just the way it is, and like Senpai is aware that it's not working. And I don't know if it's intended or not intended. That was not clear to me. But as you can see, we're running the same gear, and despite Deadly Strike not working, Sacrifice was still a pretty solid build, so we're keeping the same setup completely. I'm showing everything twice today, and you can see us like sacrificing. The benefit of Sacrifice is, again, like that beautiful AoE that it gives you. It's just really, really good. Like, it's hard to say no to that kind of AoE. We tried different weapons afterwards, like we try to swap around to other single-handed weapons, and we found this amazing F lacerator. Just like really nice find. It had like 250 plus ED, so really nice to find this kind of thing in SSF, because otherwise you're never getting this kind of F weapons. So I was pretty happy about that. This map was pretty lucky. You guys are going to see why in like a moment, I guess. But yeah, once we swapped up our weapons, we managed to bring this down to like sub 10 minutes mapping, like in tier 1, which I think is pretty good. For day 2, that's generally my goal. I've been able to clear like a 10-minute Horizon or like 8-minute Chaldeum. You know, that's kind of like the area that we're shooting for, 8-minute West March or things like that. We drop an F, Titan's Revenge as well, apparently. In the same map, and we continue. We get a pair of Drax as well, so map for the riches, and we get an absolute bear rune for this Paladin to pay for anything I could ever want for him. So the Paladin doing a lot of work and doing the good work for our for our bank on the SSF. After doing these builds, we swapped to the last physical build I wanted to test, which was the Charge Paladin. We happened to have, like, we found like a sword guard, and we slammed it with EDIS, and we boxed it as well for 4 sockets, because we found the box on the stream. Or I don't know if we found the box after or before, but we were pushed to box it to prove that we believe in the weapon. We got 4 sockets, we just put shales in it, so it's not the most budgety weapon. Like, I bet that you can find something like this for pretty cheap, if I'm being honest, like a 6-socket sword guard. Like, I don't think it would be too expensive. But everything else stays the same. It's pretty much the same gear that you've seen in the other parts. Like 2 skills, like some resistances, the ED crafted safety base, some resistance boots, the Drax. I think this one's the Drax we found. We're using a few AR charms. I didn't have a lot of good AR and like max damage charms, so that's what I ended up using. Shooting again for that 10k AR area. And the small charms are mostly like, you know, res or life, things like that. Merc is the same Merc, using like that PDR setup with like a little bit of leech. Mostly just trying to keep him alive because he's giving me a lot of damage with his might aura. We're maxing our fanaticism. We're not using might in this scenario because we don't have enough IAS to get our max breakpoint. I put a point into Joust just in case I need it. I don't think this is necessary. I wanted to test it to see how much that could be good. You can, if you don't want the point in Joust, you can always dump your points into things like Blessed Aim or for like reduced target defense, or you can get more points into Holy Sword if you don't have it maxed. That's generally like I think what people go for. Of course, if you're bossing with this kind of setup, you can also put points into max resistances. To like the resist auras. Every 2 points will give you max resist to whatever boss you want to run. Maybe you need like a little bit of you know, touch-ups for your resistances, so that's always an option. Charge, while it was the least budgety setup that we tested that day, was actually not the fastest. It didn't beat Sacrifice, so that just goes to show how strong Sacrifice is as a skill. That even with like a very budgety approach, it beats out like less budgety approaches for other builds. It still managed to do pretty okay at the 10 to 11 minute Horizons. We did, I think, 2 or 3 maps in Horizon. We did a few Chaldeums as well. So overall, it did pretty solidly. I wouldn't be upset with this kind of build. If you are building it with the thoughts of like I want to boss as well, you can already start mapping with it pretty early and it wouldn't be a problem. So if you're kind of testing something like that and you want to be bossing with Paladin, and Charger is the main bosser for Paladin, you can definitely go ahead and build him into maps as well. You don't need to map on something else and then change. For the next build, we wanted to go with Vengeance. I wanted to test something elemental, and we tested a lightsaber. I know it has 4 sockets, but we wanted to pretend like it's budgety. I just happened to slam it on the stream and we got 4 sockets, so I want to pretend like it's budget. So we're pretending like it has 1 socket with just a shale rune inside to reach the next breakpoint. We use the Kiras for the CBF and the resistances. I used the Skull Desire just because I wanted to show like some you know, 1+1 skill budgety armor, and I didn't have something that made more sense than the Scalders. We used the Ghoul Hide for the IAS and the AR against Undead. I didn't know that I didn't need like a Ghoul Hide, so I could have run probably something like I don't even know what I could have run. I didn't have like too many 20 IS gloves to test, so I just tested this. I think I had leech on it as well, but you don't really do physical damage, so the leech doesn't matter too much. The same PDR belt I've been using all day, the same rings I've been using all day. This crafted blood amulet with a bunch of res. Crafting blood amulets early in the season is always worth it because it's pretty much giving you life after each kill, giving you resistances sometimes, and plus skills. It's awesome. Gerkas for our shield. That's the shield I decided to use for some reason. I think it just made sense because of the block rate. And War Travelers. These could effectively be any other pair of boots with life after each kill. You don't need War Travs. I just use War Travs for the MF, so I have like a little bit more MF. But rare boots with resistances and life after each kill is probably something you could go for. That would be pretty easy to obtain. And hopping into the map with Vengeance, you can see it's like a pretty normal approach. It feels very much like the sacrifice gameplay to me. I don't really differentiate between all these builds. I just call them joust builds in my head. And the idea is you max your joust and you go around jousting and killing stuff with your damage, whether it's elemental or physical. The gameplay is generally the same. They just excel at different things, different maps, different paces for boss killing, or all sorts of things like that. So like for Vengeance, like your damage for a single target, like bosses, is like the least impressive probably. Where things like Zeal does a little bit better for that, and Sacrifice does okay-ish for that. And like Sacrifice has probably the best AoE. In my opinion, it's probably the most it's the most flexible one, I think. So generally speaking, I would normally recommend doing Sacrifice over Zeal or Vengeance. And here you can see we're also testing Elemental Sacrifice because we didn't test it. So this one will be again similar itemization to what we just seen on the Vengeance. Yeah, we're showing it's like pretty much the same items. I just swapped the ghoul hides for Drax. Drax is like the go-to for sacrifice. I'm using like a Menald, not Menald, sorry, Nagel ring with like 4-2 mana after each kill, just so we can have a little bit of mana after each kill. And the Merc is an Act 2 Defiance Merc with a Stormspire. That's like pretty good, but like budgety-ish setup early on. Find like a Bad Slam Stormspire. You're just using it to help you kind of telestomp when you're jousting. And Lightning Sacrifice, I don't want to test all the elemental sacrifices. They're generally pretty similar. I think Lightning Sacrifice is the cheapest one to make, considering to get started with at least. So that's the one I chose to go with. And that's the only build we really ran with offensive skillers, offensive aura skillers. I think the other builds you either run with combat skillers or with AR charms. But it's the only one that I felt like offensive aura skillers will be the best choice. As you can see, it deals pretty well with mobs. Like Sacrifice is just so nice at like clearing maps. We ended up being able to do 7 to 8 minute maps on it. So I was pretty happy with Elemental Sacrifice. It was definitely the strongest build of the day. We even took it to a tier 2 map, which it managed to clear in 9.5 minutes. That was River of Blood. So pretty solid showing overall for the Lightning Sacrifice being like the build of the day. Second mentions go into Physical Sacrifice and for Vengeance. These were kind of like the top 3. And I think overall it was pretty solid in terms of budget. Here you have me testing Blessed Hammers, the OG build. We're testing it with knives so we can have early teleport, because teleport is really important for this build for positioning. I have a bunch of life after each kill and mana after each kill, so you can kind of see it in my stats. All of our resistances are topped off, and we wanted to test the build. So we hopped in and started to do hammers, and we saw our HP pool drop down so fast we couldn't even blink in time. We had a Defiance Merc with us, I think. Or an Act... we tried 2 different Mercs. We tried the Defiance Merc and the Act 4 Arcane Merc. And wow, this did not work. So I simply said, no, we're not doing this. We went back to Elemental Sacrifice for the end of the stream. So that was kind of what we did on day number 2. Generally speaking, I will not be testing blessed hammers again. It's not because I don't think you can make blessed hammers work. I think it requires very specific gear that might not be super achievable in SSF, so I can't test it personally here. I do believe it can be made to work okay-ish, but the investment is going to be pretty big, so this is going to be like the end of my talking about blessed hammer, the OG skill, sadly. I was kind of looking forward to seeing if this could work, but on the budget, it's definitely not what you're looking to do. So what's looking for us on day number 3? So on day number 3, we are looking to do physical and lightning sacrifice, charge, physical charge, maybe a little bit of zeal. I just want to see how it improves with things like Schaefer and items like that. I might test a Vengeance as well, even though Elemental Sacrifice felt pretty much the same and just like more effective. I might still test it a little bit. And I will test a little bit more of Holy Bolt because it was a really good mapper for us on an insane budget setup with the nice set. I'm not sure how much I can upgrade it in terms of like budget mapping, because I think we'll require gear that I don't have, but we'll see if we can do it. But these are the builds we're looking to test. In addition, I want to take charge into dclone. I made sure to farm the materials so we can go into dclone on our day number 3. Yeah, that's generally the plan for the next video. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did enjoy this content, make sure to drop a like and subscribe, and all the other free stuff that you can do with a click of a button. You can leave a comment to me. It can be a deranged comment, but if it's a deranged comment, I'm probably not going to respond. So like a nice comment like, yo, that was a nice video, or yo, have a nice day. That would be more appreciated. And yeah, I hope you have a good whatever you're having, buddies. Have a nice rest of your day, or rest of whatever you're doing right now, night. I don't know when you're watching this. You can watch it whenever you want. And yeah, I'll see you in the next stream or in the next video. Bye bye for now.